Or we found you.
Wow. Ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
We're excited! We're excited! We're excited!
Shh. To talk about dementia. Well, hello. Hi.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Susan. Welcome.
Yes. Well, we're Dangle.
I'm
and
Dangle.
Dot,
She's Dot.
and we're here to introduce you to a care pair extraordinaire. Right, Nancy?
Correct.
Yes. Wow. And we think a care pair is that person living with, right?
Yes.
And that primary caregiver, some people call them, but we like to look at it as a partnership.
It is really, truly a partnership, isn't
Yes. And we are so fortunate in our journey with Alzheimer's to have met this lovely couple, Sam Simon and his lovely wife,
Susan Simon.
Yeah.
AKA my cognitive navigator.
Well, there you
Okay,
go.
cognitive navigator.
In this situation, we all should have one, shouldn't we?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And we want to introduce you to this lovely couple because they are so inspiring.
They are.
And the story is incredible. And it just will give you hope right along the journey.
It will give you hope. And it also lets you know that along with any diagnosis any one of us might get for anything, life goes on.
Yes. Or, as in Nancy's case where she created poetry, perhaps you will create something new.
Something will come into your life that you'd never thought of.
So, Sam, tell us about your journey.
Well, let me start. Hi, everybody. And hi, Dangle and Dot. Two of the most engaging people. Is that the right word? Lovely people. That's a good word. We're on the road to getting to know them even better. It's been like 3 years now, maybe 4, that we've been in a support group with you guys and met you. And it was shortly after I was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. And we live here in Northern Virginia, McLean, Virginia, a suburb of Washington, D.C. And it's sort of like, what? What are you doing with this couple of these folks in Nevada? And the truth was, and it's part of the story maybe, we look here first for a cohort or for groups that we could, we get a diagnosis, and this is part of it, of Alzheimer's or any other serious terminal disease, and you look for help. You look for the community. You look for, and we were looking around here, and there's a support group, a place we could go, and we actually found nothing that was comfortable, or that there was some stuff, and it's still an issue in some ways, that a lot of senior living places had things going on, but they were just ways to recruit us to come live there. And so I don't remember quite how we found the DEAR program. You're going to help me here. Weekly, you'd started meeting during COVID remotely. It used to be in person. A cohort. What did you call the?
We called it dementia conversations.
It was like a support group.
It was
People with it and their caregivers. So we showed up one day. And we haven't left.
I know, for years.
And we're so glad, too.
I know. And so I love this because this is what we kind of try to talk about. Like, out of COVID, we created ways to connect, right, from across the country and meet new people and make the journey a little lighter, a little brighter.
Yes.
And
learn something.
Yes.
Isn't that what we really are gathering for in this particular instance, is to learn a little bit more, and what somebody else might do might help us, and vice versa.
And it's real. In other words, and it's ongoing, and there's so many those factors that make it so important. It's not just one time and go, because in some ways that can be a bit performative for people, or trying to we meet every week, every Friday, and as a result, yes, it's remote, but we get to know each other and
Mhm.
understand, and the people can become more candid and sometimes
It's a caring support group.
Right.
and more open about what's really going on. And if you've seen somebody for almost a year or more, and now you know that who their partner is, um, if they're having challenges getting something done or not. And it's as a result, we're more open as well. And,
Right.
and then we meet people like you.
And we need people like you.
And
Yeah.
we're glad.
And then for the listeners who is wondering, where is this group from? It is from the University of Nevada, Reno. It's the DEAR program. It's the Dementia Education and Engagement program that is excellent. We will feature a link to how to get in touch with them on the show notes. And we also include this resource and some great stories about that in our book.
Yeah.
They're
And-
just so kind and to the point.
Yes. And in our book, we do feature Susan and Sam
We
because
do.
their journey has touched our hearts.
I know.
Yes.
We're connected.
Yes.
And
Well,
so,
Sam and I are.
but I just so I tell this story now because the unusual thing is, what do you do when you get diagnosed with terminal disease like Alzheimer's? Silly me, I went and wrote a play. Although I had that experience before. Susan is a survivor of advanced breast cancer from a long time, early 2000s. My response then was to do a play and a book. I'd been in late career when all this started. I had sold a company I'd run in Washington and had been taking some improv. And then when Susan got sick, I called it post-traumatic spiritual disorder. Trying to find out, because we got up to the precipice. She is fine now. And so it was unlikely. I'd taken some improv courses and I was encouraged to write. And I wrote a play and performed it for over a decade. It was actually one of the symptoms was during COVID, I was performing from home. I used to travel and go to theaters, and then everybody's at home, and I had my phone, and I could perform over Zoom. And there were times of performance from my basement where I was beginning to forget my lines. So if you've done this, something for like 9 years. So and now all of a sudden I'm starting to forget my lines. Susan was there to help cue me, but that was one of the symptoms that I was developing a cognitive disorder, and took me to get diagnosed and go see the doctors and all that. And we have this, and so well, Susan can talk, but it's an unusual circumstance where Susan, my wife, now 59 years, 7 months, and 12 days.
Wow.
And who's counting? But who's counting?
You guys are,
It's worth counting.
yeah, it's worth counting. Someone listening to it for sure.
And her mother passed from breast cancer, and then she got diagnosed, and there was an event where the doctors thought they found a post-mastectomy lump. Everybody goes dark. They pulled me over. So and say, get ready. But now so this has happened a long time ago, and then now I get a diagnosis, Alzheimer's disease. And I've gone through all the testing, and I'm amyloid positive, and there's even more or less some great news from yesterday, yesterday, but I'll go into that later. But and our roles have changed. Now she's my care partner.
Right, isn't that how life does it to us?
And it's so nobody wants some of this stuff.
You started to say, didn't you? It's a gift. I believe it.
Yeah.
And that sounds strange, doesn't it?
And I think this is among the things we'll agree on. And we can get these things, and they can happen, and we can get depressed and sad and close up. And And I'm not criticizing anybody because that is a temptation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We have worked hard and continue to work hard to accept it and make the best of it.
You're hot.
And
You
how
know,
do you do that?
in the years that you've been doing this, how long ago were you diagnosed first?
Well, my MCI was in 2018, and my Alzheimer's was in 2022, I think. Yeah, the fall of
Okay.
2022, right?
What do you think if you could think what do you think the three or four most important things are that you personally, for someone living with and fortunate enough to have a care partner as you have, what are three or four things that you would like to tell the people that are listening today are the most important to you, and maybe it's something they haven't thought about?
I think the most important thing is to be able to find the energy to say, I want to have the best journey with this disease as possible. And, there's a bell curve in any disease. And bell curve is, well, everybody with Alzheimer's or breast cancer, 99% are within this framework. There are some that pass or get sick worse over here. And then there's this line where they beat the odds, they're further. And say, I want to be the one who is the furthest and the furthest out there, and lives the longest. Maybe. Don't tell anybody, but maybe I'll be the one who beats it.
Me too.
You have a competitor.
Yeah, there we go. Nancy and I
Yeah,
are going to compete for that.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to be the outlier story.
It's not easy always to think that. There are ups and downs.
Sure.
And having a care partner or person with you who helps with that. And, we are intentional. And I encourage people, if you're in this, we talk about it. And we try to catch ourselves if we see ourselves slipping. We're human beings. It's not hard to do to all of a sudden, oh God. New Year's Eve, I don't know why I picked this date, but you can, it used to be, oh, what are we going to do for next year? What are our goals? And we've seen people who say, well, will we make it to next year? And is this the last year? And so we have to talk about it. We have to set positive goals.
Mhm.
There's a slide and we want to stay off of the slide, that let you slide down
Mhm.
to continue to be, and there will be bumps in the roads, and we're blessed that we live in a community not far from our son and daughter-in-law, and not too much further away from our daughter and son-in-law. He's a lawyer, and she therefore must be all right, she's a dentist. That's a doctor. But having community, that is another big thing.
Say it again.
Having community.
Yes.
So we are involved in our synagogue. Other people have churches. Other people have community groups. I know in many communities, Rotary is very involved, by the way, in supporting people with dementia and Alzheimer's. Wherever you find your community and be part of it, and those are things that help us most.
Mhm.
We are lucky in that we have a good neurologist.
Yeah.
And the hardest part of the journey has been finding a doctor in a medical practice, and I'm also found the way to continue to be a troublemaker with this disease.
Gosh, no one would think of you.
No.
Step in here anywhere you can, Susan.
Yeah, Susan, you second that.
Well, people don't know or may not know. I had sort of a life history, but my first job was to work for Ralph Nader, who, by the way, is still alive and he's still causing trouble, is a lawyer. And I was a bit of a public presence in the Washington area around. My work head was often in telecommunications advocacy for consumers. I even wrote a book called How to Save Money on Your Phone Bill. That book of the month club distributed.
But they gave it away free.
It was their freebie, but my son called me a minor public celebrity. I got to be on Oprah Winfrey show one time, but other TV shows, and so part of the lessons, it didn't come natural. I mean, I had mentors in my work, and they sort of taught me how to. All right, you're going to start going to this area of communications. Well, there have been people in this area for 50 years. If you need to make an impact, you need to ask questions. You need to do these things. And that's true in this area. The challenge, and maybe we should come back to that. And I don't know what you guys have to say about it. How do you, and a good care partner is part of it. How do you avoid the depression, oh no, this is so bad, and what's going to happen, and that sort of thing. And it's like you guys, it is amazing. Look at you sitting there doing this.
Look at us sitting here, huh?
No, I think it is. It takes. And maybe you guys can talk about it. I don't know if I have quite the words. I know I can talk about us a little bit, in part because we've both been through this and we know the value of being positive and working hard. When Susan was sick, her thing was, you can't cry in front of me. And it was so tempting, not tempting, but there was the time when the medical world was dark with her, but she was saying, no, I'm not going to give up. How do we find that courage? And institutions that help us find that courage. And
that's true.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. That resiliency piece, where does that kind of come from? Right. That's always my impressive thing with Nancy. I have to say every now and then she sounds a little down and frustrated and things aren't kind of going the way she wants. And then I start buying into that and I'm thinking, oh no, next day she'll call me up. Well, hey, what are we doing? And where does that belief, and then the partnership comes in to hold that up, right, for one another even. And
it is the ability, I think, to be able to speak to one another.
And have this tough conversation sometimes, right?
Yeah, and know that nothing changes, right, except maybe the possibility of feeling better. But, we do have to share it, don't we, Sam?
Well, we do, and again, I don't want to make this sound too easy. Not that but there are other stories out there.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And there are people who, I don't know so much in the. Well,
right.
I'm going to say something for our friend Cap and Susan. We have the experience. I was the care partner for somebody with they thought was going to be terminal breast cancer. But she was always Susan. The care partnering in this disease can be so challenging, particularly as the person with the disease begins to change.
Right.
And, in one instance, what love really means is staying there and working it and being that committed. And there's still wonderful, happy moments in that. And, but there are all sorts of narratives, and we're not that early. We're in our 80s. So, we've had a good life. There's a Jewish phrase. And since we're in the Passover season, I can use it.
Please.
It's called Dayenu. In the Seder, if you've been to Seder, there's even a song, Dayenu,
Yes.
Dayenu. Dayenu means, and this would be enough. In other words, if Pharaoh just let us go, that would have been enough. If we didn't get to matzah, but just kept walking, that would have been enough. We're at this point in our life, this would have been enough. And we're grateful for every moment
So you're on the bonus streak.
Yeah.
Well, you have to wake up each morning and,
Yes.
and look outside and say it's going to be a beautiful day,
You do.
and you get going,
Yes.
and that's why every morning I say it's what time is it when we wake up? Okay, time to get ready to go to the gym before breakfast. Even.
Aw.
You
Wow.
have to have routines, and you have to keep them with you during this time. You just
Sure.
can't, and you can't drop your friends either.
That's right.
That's something, especially for the person that is the person that's the love partner or the care partner, because they need someone to tell them that they can continually
Yes.
do this. And if you get in a situation where you need some help, it's always good to be surrounded by friends who have already gone through it and may have
Yeah.
experienced a loss, who can help you.
Yes.
And if it can help you, then you're helping your partner.
And you have a cohort. You call it a cohort group that she meets with once a month of people, mainly from our synagogue, who have a partner, who are care partners, and they can, off the record, go have a meal, just sit and talk and compare notes, and
Good. So important.
It
it
is.
is important. And I think you guys, I love what you're doing. I love what we're doing, and it's interesting. I've written a play and a book, and the book's right behind me.
We're going to feature it on our show notes. And
But it's a bit unusual, but it gives me purpose, and
right.
I think that's also your poetry, and I love that you're still writing poetry, right?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and give it. Well, I wish I did. You guys were at the Eden Alternative, right? And we were in a workshop where I
Yes.
Yes.
wrote another. That's an Eden Alternative. For people who don't know, is an organization that does sort of advanced positive caring and memory communities around the country, and and it's also the Dementia Action Alliance, their partner. But one of the workshops was to give us a bunch of words, and they said pull them together and create a poem. And I framed what I did. I was so
Yeah.
my point is, it's a surprise. I didn't know that it would. You can be skeptical about it and whatever, but you go in, and there's a little bit of. I hadn't thought about that. Letting go when you do that stuff, not be judgmental and or critical or anything else, and
Be grateful for what we can. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Sam and Susan, you've always inspired me because you have looked at it as a little bit of a spiritual journey, right? Learning something deeper about yourselves and working from love versus the fear.
Mm-hmm.
That everyday affirmation of getting up and we're going to be the best version of us today. Like you so beautifully say. I found that very helpful in my mom's journey. How can I evolve myself to get closer to unconditional love is what we're working toward.
Right.
Like we love each other no matter what your body's doing, what you're saying, what you're doing. And that was the more deeper journey to learn how to do. Instead of wishing somebody was the way they were 10 years ago and enjoying the person in front of you today is part of the deeper work I found.
I think that's true. And I think, as you were saying, Sam, to have a purpose, I wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. still today. And I've been writing poetry now for 13 years. And it is just a way to express oneself. And that's kind of what we find leaves us in this process of walking through a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or a form of dementia, is that there are parts and pieces that are leaving us. And so if somewhere in here we can find a way to fill those voids, because it is what we can do now.
Yeah, your sense of self-worth and expression.
Yes.
And I think Nancy's poetry, she hasn't released. She has like enough for 5 more books, maybe.
I do.
But I keep reading them. It's getting deeper and deeper. You know, I think your first ones were more just the reaction to getting a diagnosis.
I would agree.
And people and the way they responded. But now you're going into more of the heart feelings of what it's doing for you.
Yeah, I think, and I think we have to, and it's not selfish, we have to understand what great things we've accomplished. And Sam, you've accomplished a lot. And
okay, so we have a celebrity here. He's featured in the post. He's on so many podcasts. You go to anything dementia related, you're going to find Dementia Man.
Well, the other thing that is rewarding is when you have the feedback time, when you're talking in a group, and that people, gives people the opportunity to also tell their story.
Yes.
And you learn a lot from listening to other people and what they've been through. And it helps you, because eventually you're going to get to that place.
Yeah.
And you'll remember back those stories, So I agree with you about the storytelling. I think it's wonderful that that's a good opportunity where I read lots of caregiving books and so forth that say this, that, the other. But I also find that I learn more when I'm actually hearing people say things that they've done.
And that's right. And that's often, so when I do a performance of Dementia Man, we always have a half an hour to 40 minutes of discussion. We don't like talk back, discussion with the audience.
Right.
And we want people to, and it's not surprising, though sometimes it is, that our audiences tend to be older, and many people who themselves either, including people with the disease or the partners or somebody who's just the care partner. I do want to mention something that might be a little controversial. That'll keep people listening.
He's the troublemaker.
I think
It's our friend.
there are some other narratives around which have actually been among the ones that have inspired me to be different. And it's a tragedy narrative. And to some degree, I consider it, I don't know if this is a form of ego, of if you say, I don't want to have to go through this, I'm going to just end it early. And there is those who advocate for early end of life or accompanied suicide. And I think what I have decided, and I hope others who are in this area, both care partners and the person with it, is that in our journey, there may be a gift to others. And this isn't necessarily about just me. And if nothing else, maybe something about my last of days or my genetic makeup will help science. I don't know. And it doesn't have to be true. I'm willing to go through the full shebang, the natural end of it, in the hope and possibility that in my journey, there's something that can help others in the future. I do want to mention, because maybe people don't know about, I'm pointing to behind me, this picture, and it's things that help keep us going. My first performances were in the summer of 2023. So a little over 3 years ago. No, not quite 3 years ago. 2026 summer is not here yet, right?
Right.
Okay. So it was July of 2023. And it was part of
November.
what's called the Capitol Fringe Festival. And so that was July. So August, September, October, 3 months and a week. And I get an email from a woman who I didn't know. And her name is Mrs. Sullivan. Said, my husband and I were at your show this July. He passed away last week. So like, why is she writing me? And she said, he had drawn that picture. It's a self-portrait of memory loss. She wanted me to own the copyright to it. Because
How nice.
because the show had been so important to him and he so found it meaningful. You're talking about being humbled, because I couldn't imagine, and I don't, everybody will respond to it differently. I've not yet had, I'm trying to remember, I don't think I've had a negative feedback of any kind. My first play, the actual dance, I did get some negative feedback because they thought it was, well, it doesn't matter what they thought. We were wrong. No. But so far we haven't heard anything negative. But it's what you guys do too. Being out and public about a meaningful life with the disease and in this journey. In ways that, part of it is driven by the word dementia. It evokes end stages. And end stages also evoke pictures of, blank faces staring into the sky and locked rooms. And that is not a norm. And that is not how most of us are. When I was diagnosed, and I think Nancy, yours is similar, but they told me it could be another 5 to 10 years before things get a lot worse. So here we have this decade or more. Yes, I've been in drug trials and treatment, but I'm doing this still. And yes, I'm considered to have a form of dementia. So we're going to get rid of that word, by the way. But it is the challenge of this field in this area. And a little fact for you and your listeners. What's important about 2026?
I don't know. What is important?
It is the first year that a baby boomer turned 80. Will be 80 years old. So we have talk about the societal trend, that still gigantic baby boom, all moving into their 80s as of this year. And it's going to increase the number of people with cognitive disorders. It's something I read said that within 5 years, we'll have the largest 80 plus cohort in the history of America. So we're at leading edge in some ways.
We are. With this, and it's important to be leading edge kind of thinkers and creators in this space. And Sam and Susan, you've done a marvelous job of really challenging the tragedy narrative in it with your approach and willingness to talk about it, willingness to take it on the road. That energy, like you talk about, is a lot in travel, I'm sure,
Yes.
with you at this.
We give you an A+.
Applaud you
And applaud you.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, and it's so good to hear that you've been rewarded by people saying things or granting you gifts.
And the picture, what a lovely thought behind the
Yes,
picture.
and I've seen this with Nancy too, people coming up with pictures of her and how she's inspired so many people to keep going. We are such good friends. I know we could talk all day, but we are going to have to wrap things up a little bit. But
Yes.
Sam, we need something practical between you and Susan. And since you mentioned improv earlier, can you explain the yes and that you use?
Well, this is the ongoing
Yes.
Well, no, but it's, it's good too. I don't want people to think, oh, it's so easy, or they're.
Right.
Susan is a natural no. What is a natural no? Her first
natural
impulse.
It's okay.
Her first impulse was.
It's all right.
Hold back. Hold back.
Wait.
No, not right now. And yes, anding is a form of accept all information given and adding to it. And in the field of cognitive impairment, it's almost critical, because the person, me, who can't insist the keys are up here or there, needs to be said, okay, let's go look. Not, no, they're not, or no, I don't want to do that. It's okay, yeah, and. Now, the and doesn't mean you end up doing it, but, in more advanced, in our field in cognitive decline, there will be a time potentially where we'll be in this house, and I said, let's go home, Susan. And if she says, no, we're home, silly, we'll have a big blowout because I'm convinced we're home. So this is much more advanced. And yes, okay, let's go home. So she needs to say yes. And now we've seen pictures or we've seen stories like this. The person with the disease who thinks they're not home are often just taken outside and back in. And that works. But yes, Andy, and accepting the part of, in a way that the ands just get you to the right place in a different
To continue in the right direction.
direction. And it brings you into engagement rather than creates a separation.
Right.
And it's complicated, but it is a perfect, and there are people, I'm lucky enough to have been trained. I fell into a group in New York called Artistic New Directions. They're still there. And, they're a great group. Still, I mean, it's been a while. And I had the privilege of being taught by some of the best in the country. The late Gary Austin, who founded the Groundlings in LA, was one of my teachers. And it was not easy. I was, learning to accept all information given and adding to it in this field. If you're a caregiver, you've got somebody, particularly if they're further along, and even when they're not, learning how to accept all information given. That's a form of yes. It's not necessarily a, oh yeah, let's just go jump off the bridge. It's, yeah, there's a bridge down there. Let's see. Well, my favorite little story is,
Yeah,
all right.
but you know that one over and over.
No, but it's all right. So, Kat, tell me you want to go to the movies with me.
Yes, I want to go to the movies, Sam. Let's go.
Okay, let's go to the movies. On the way there's George's Pizza. Let's just stop there quickly, okay? Right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to the movie. Will we ever really get to the movie? Of course not. When we're in George's Pizza, Alan from way back shows up.
Yeah, you got it.
Like, that's storytelling, but that's also a way of, when people have a hard time imagining saying yes or agreeing when they really don't want to meet
There
it.
is an art to it.
Yeah.
It takes work, and I'm working. I'm trying to persuade here in Washington, this WIT, Washington Improv Theater, to hold some training sessions and some practices for caregivers and people with it, and some shows, because it is. Thanks for bringing it up. It is a way of, even in early stages, and even if somebody you're living with and you're not sure why they're behaving in a particular way,
Right.
yes, the ending rather than no, you're wrong is often.
It's a great story.
I'm always right. I mean,
We know that
Susan,
you're
we know that Sam's always right.
yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
Oh.
But it is a validation of somebody else's world. right? To
Yeah.
say that yes, part.
and it's just an easier transfer.
Yes. And I discovered with my mom, it was a way to learn stuff. I would start asking questions, and then I would get some interesting information about what my mom was experiencing. And then I'd get more curious.
Yeah.
And then we would end up in a really fun place. Like, like it was
When
a
you would
joyful,
never have known you
joyful
could.
exchange rather than a resistance kind of.
Yes.
So much of that is true, and the no creates this.
The no already sets up.
Yes creates this.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
we love
and.
that. Yes.
Yes, and.
Yes,
We're really
and.
Yes,
Well, if there's any, with Nancy and I'd love to list the great things that have happened to us because of a diagnosis and a disease, one of which we met each other. We would have never met each other if it hadn't been for that Alzheimer's thing. And we would never have gotten the joy of meeting you two,
guys,
being inspired by you.
Yes. Isn't it wonderful? And then each of us have a smile on our faces. We walk through the joy, if you will, of where we are. So it's a new joy. It's a newfound joy. It's not one we asked for, perhaps.
It's a shout out to Mary Fridley, somebody in New York who has created something called the Joy of Dementia program. So,
You got to be kidding. She added
Yeah,
that.
you got to be kidding in parentheses.
Yeah.
Parentheses.
Yes.
Well, folks,
Well,
we've probably come to the time when we're going to have to say we
come
back.
Yeah, we'll come back again and talk about some things.
Yes,
this care partnering in a
Yes.
beautiful way. Not that it's not challenging, but we'll say a bit. I was fortunate to go to their home.
Yes.
Part of my journey in advocacy.
Yes.
She's a fantastic cook.
Yes.
Thank you.
And gosh, maybe our listeners could buy us a cup of coffee. We have it over here. Buy us 4 so we can share them with Susan and Sam. And in our book, a lot of things that were mentioned today, Sam's play, their relationship, dementia friendly Nevada, also Mary Fridley's group is all in our book.
Reimagining Dementia.
And in my book, I try to put some resources too. I love that you did that. And I think you guys are Dangle and Dot are listening to mine too.
Yeah,
But,
thanks.
look, I'm having to, real quick, breaking news. I'm going to have to go back and make changes in my book because things are moving so fast. There is now what's called Guide.
Yes.
It is a form of navigation. There was a breast navigator available, and in 2024 was covered by Medicare. Somebody, they would pay for breast navigators, people going through breast cancer. The Guide program is a trial for creating cognitive navigation at a larger level. It's different, but it's out there. I didn't know that it existed until recently. GUIDE, and people should check out in their provider and their community if they need it, if there's a Guide program that might help them. Because that was the hardest part.
Yes.
We left the doctor's office, the first neurologist's office. But you're just going to get worse, Sam. Now I've got to go.
Bye now. Nice to meet you.
Get your affairs in order.
And the only other person was somebody at the desk said, well, he didn't leave any instructions and we'll call you if he wants to see you again.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So much of that.
Yeah.
Where if there were in a social worker or a navigator for people. So it's a complex dementia world out there, for lack of it, that how you navigate that and how you find help. And is this normal or is it not? And what kind of groups and how do we find Dangle and Dot? All those things. So that's an important thing on the horizon.
Thank you, Sam. You're always giving
Thinking.
and
Thinking.
helping.
Yeah. And we appreciate you guys.
Yes. What a blessing you both are in our lives. and to so many, I'm sure.
Thank
thank
you. And you too.
Yeah.
Alex.
So today,
Bye now.
we'll have to have part 2.
Yes, part 2
All right.
coming up.